Hello, I'm Barb DeLosSantos with Barb's Homemade Soap & More, and in today's video we are going to be making goat's milk soap. At the end of the video I will show you some milk alternatives for those who want to use a non-animal fat product. This is an intermediate technique made for someone that already understands basic soap making. We will be replacing all the water in this recipe with a frozen fresh goat's milk. Making goat's milk soap versus regular soap increases the value of your soap. It turns it into a luxury bar versus an everyday bar. Adding milk will add a creamy texture, a little more consistency to your lather, and just improve the overall quality of your bar. In creating this recipe, you will be using the same oils you use in regular cold processed soap. The only difference will be replacing the water with milk. You will need for this recipe castor, coconut, palm, olive oil and sunflower seed oil, sodium hydroxide, and milk. And remember, whenever using a new recipe, run it through the lye calculator. One thing we have to do before we can make a milk soap using fresh milk is to freeze the milk. Measure the amount of milk you'll need for your recipe, freeze it flat in a Ziploc bag, and it'll be ready to mix the next day. Let's make the soap. First thing you want to always do is re-weigh your goat's milk to make sure that it was the proper weight. Excellent. If it's not the correct weight, add a couple of ice cubes to bring it up to the weight you'll need to mix it with the lye. Something different with the milk versus the water is that you want to add the lye to the frozen milk. So I've got my frozen goat's milk. I'm going to very slowly add the lye to the goat's milk, and I want to stir it every couple of spoonfuls. The lye will mix with the goat's milk, and if not stirred and mixed slowly, it could scorch. It wouldn't ruin your batch of soap, just wouldn't smell that sweet. For this recipe, I like to mix the lye in about 4 segments so that I can stir it thoroughly in between each mixing. Another tip, if you were in a hotter climate, you might want to add a bucket of cold water under your lye container to really keep that temperature down. And you'll see, because we added it very slowly, we have no scorching. Our lye is dissolving nicely. And you'll want to stir it for a good 30-40 seconds to get it well mixed. You see we're starting to go under a soft change. This is normal. As the butter from the milk reacts to the lye, it starts to change color. Oh, I see we have our batch that's going to be a little rich. This happens very often if my lye was put in too quickly. Nothing to worry about. It will still make a wonderful batch of soap. It'll just have a little richer tone. There, it's ready to go. Now that we've mixed the lye with the goat's milk, we're going to allow it to cool down to a nice, comfortable temperature to work with. I prefer mixing my goat milk soaps between 65 and 100 degrees, keeping it cooler, less chance for the milk to scorch. When I mixed my lye and my milk together, it did get a little hotter than I prefer to work with, so I've added it to a bowl of ice. This will help reduce the temperature quickly and make it ready to mix with the oils. We just mixed our first batch of frozen goat's milk with the lye. Even though we did everything right, we froze the goat's milk, we added the lye a little bit at a time, we still ended up with goat's milk that was scorched. This happens when the temperature of the lye becomes higher than 110 degrees. To solve that problem, mix your lye and your milk in a bowl of ice water. Now here is exactly what we want it to look like. This is a beautiful color, soft yellow, It's the perfect temperature of goat's milk, lye, and it's ready to mix. We're working at about 85 degrees here. Beautiful color, beautiful soap. We're ready to make soap. Let's check the temperature of the oils. Perfect, 75 degrees. And my goat's milk is 80. Perfect temperatures for making this cool batch of goat's milk soap. From this point on, it'll be like making any other type of cold processed soap. I'm adding my lye and milk mixture into my oils. I like to incorporate them thoroughly with a spoon before adding the blender. Beautiful color. This is a quick trace recipe. So when you're familiar with soap making, sometimes it takes a minute or so for it to trace, sometimes a little longer. This one's right in the middle. When making a goat's milk soap in the beginning, use the on and off method. Blend and stir. It'll tend to trace a little faster than the other soaps that you're used to making. We are almost at trace now. Beautiful. We are making the soap today unscented, but at this point, you could add anything you would add to a regular batch of soap. I'm choosing an unscented recipe today to keep all the processes quick, simple, and easy to do for your first batch. You would add oils, additives, or anything else you want to make your soap a little more special. If you're familiar with cold processed soap making, we are now at light trace. I'm going to give it one more wand and we'll be ready to go. This is perfect. We're going to pour it in the mold, and after we put it in the mold, we're going to review a couple of things we did on this video. Now that our goat's milk soap is at a nice medium trace, I'm going to pour it into my 2-pound silicone mold. Something to remember about goat's milk soap when you're used to making regular cold processed soap is it'll heat up a little bit more once it's in the mold. So you want to keep it uncovered and in a cool place. Again, if you live in an area that's high temperature, you can even put it in the refrigerator to keep it a little cooler. When you're curing your goat's milk soap, follow the same guidelines you would use for a regular cold processed soap. Put it to rest in a cool place. Let it rest 24 hours. When you unmold it, I prefer cutting it right away so that it has a chance to breathe, and let it then age for 4 to 6 weeks. So today we made our very first batch of milk soap using a traditional method of frozen goat's milk. If you don't live on a farm, if you don't have goats, or you just prefer an all vegetable product, there are a lot of options for you. Almond milk, unsweetened, in the grocery store, powdered, concentrate, or liquid, always a good choice. Like all the milks, it still adds a beautiful creamy texture. Buttermilk is also a good option, found powdered in the baking section or fresh in the dairy section of your grocery store. And what about basic powdered milk? Add it dry to the mixture or make it into a regular milk and freeze like you would goat's milk. Any powdered milk can be added to the oils prior to adding the water-lye mixture. You don't always have to use fresh. Use what you have available, especially in the beginning. Coconut milk, an all-time favorite. It adds the extra fats that the buttermilk adds, giving your soap creamy lather and rich fat bubbles. I prefer coconut found in the bakery section, unsweetened natural coconut. Though we used fresh today, it's not always available. Powdered goat's milk and fresh goat's milk in the dairy section of your grocery store is also a good choice. Again, when you're using a powdered milk, add it to the oils and then add your lye water mixture. So many creams, milks, and butters can be used. Yogurt, you want a nice, thick, rich, creamy soap? Add yogurt as a super fat along with the oils before you add your lye water. So now you see that making a milk soap doesn't always require a goat. You can make it with a lot of products found in your grocery store. So now you've learned how to make basic goat milk soap. When you're ready to make it on your own, experiment. Try any of these milk products in the grocery store. Make it easy and simple and have fun with it. For more information on making your first milk-based soap, follow the links on the bottom of this tutorial.